Thank you. Well, welcome. My name's Councillor Matt Lamb and I'm the Mayor of Worcester, and welcome to this extraordinary council meeting. Welcome. My name's Councillor Matt Lamb and I'm the Mayor of Worcester, and welcome in stereo. Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope you all had a good festive season. So thank you very much. I'll start with the usual preamble. This is a public meeting and members of the public and press are permitted to report on the proceedings. Reporting includes filming, photography, making audio recording and providing commentary on proceedings. Please note this meeting is recorded and streamed live. These recordings are published on the relevant meeting page of the Council's website. By choosing to attend this public meeting, you are deemed to have given your consent to being filmed or recorded and for any footage to be broadcast or published. If the alarm sounds, the premises must be evacuated immediately. Do not spend time collecting personal belongings. All emergency escape routes are clearly signed. Once you have left the building, the assembly point is on the High Street opposite the Guildhall. Members and other speakers are reminded to use their microphones when speaking, and can also please remind members who are sharing a microphone to hold their name card over the left side speaker on their shared microphone unit so that they are signed in before they speak. You also need to do this each time before speaking. There is also an instruction note on your table. Finally, when a vote is taken on an item, could you please raise the yellow card that is in front of you on the table when you vote. This will make the counting of votes clearer. Okay, thank you very much. So, item 1 is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, Mr Mayor, apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Alcott, Councillor Collier, Councillor Denham, Councillor Gregson, Councillor Hussain, Councillor Norfolk and Councillor Rudge.
Thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Don't see any. Okay, thank you very much. Item 3, public participation. We have none. So that moves us on to the main business of the meeting, item 4. And before we discuss these two items, just to note that both have been fully debated at the recent meeting of the Place and Economic Development Committee. Okay, so there's been a good airing of the issues there. So the first report we have in front of us tonight is the referral report from the Place and Economic Development Committee on the 17th of December 2025, the South Worcestershire Development Plan Review Main Modifications Consultation. And the two things we need to approve are on the reports. So we're being asked to approve the South Worcestershire Development Plan Review Main Modification Schedule, Appendix 1 to the committee's report and supporting documents, Appendices 2, 3, 4 and 5 to the committee report for publication for a statutory 6-week public consultation from the 6th of January 2026 to the 17th of February 2026. And it also authorises the Head of Planning and Economic Development in consultation with the Chair and Vice Chair of Place and Economic Development Committee to make any necessary minor amendments to the document for consultation prior to publication. And I think this is being proposed by Councillor Cooper.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'm delighted to bring this report to full council today. Firstly, I'd like to pay tribute to the officers in our planning department who've worked tirelessly during this process to get this document before us now, as well as members of JAP. This is a significant moment for the future of our city, and I'm proud that this supplementary planning document comes with us the strongest possible mandate, which was passed unanimously at PED. It has also been adopted by our partners at Malvern Hills and Wychavon, demonstrating united cross-boundary commitment as well as the well-being of every resident in South Worcestershire, which is crucial as we move to local government reorganisation. For too long, planning and public health have operated in separate silos. This SPD changes that. It recognises the fundamental truth: the environments we build, the streets we live, and the places we work are the single greatest detriments of long-term health. By adopting this document, we are ensuring that health is no longer an afterthought, but it's baked into the foundations of every new development. What does this mean in practice? It means prioritising active travel, so walking and cycling are the easiest choice. It means protecting and enhancing our green spaces to improve mental health and air quality. It means easy access to healthy food and, crucially, designing neighbourhoods to tackle social isolation. As we've discussed previously in this chamber, our children are facing physical inactivity crisis. This SPD provides the teeth we need to ensure developments provide the doorstep space and the safe environments required for outdoor play, protecting everything from children's bone density to their mental resilience. By approving this report, we aren't just passing planning documents, we're making a choice for healthier, more active and more equitable Worcester. I urge you to support the South Worcestershire Development Plan main modifications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I understand this is being seconded by Councillor Agar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm delighted to be seconding this. When you're preparing a development plan on this scale, the whole of South Worcestershire, we're running a marathon. And this one has lasted over 7 years. So it's a bit of a relief to be, approaching the finishing post, is what I will say, and mixing my metaphors wildly a bit later. It's a bit like painting the Forth Bridge. Once you stop doing one, you start it all over again. The reason it's taken 7 years is really because of COVID as much as anything. We didn't know what the new normal would be, so we had to start looking at what we really thought the shape of Worcestershire would be. It took a couple of extra years to work that one out as a result. Transport was a particular issue. That took a bit longer than average because we didn't know where people would be travelling and so forth and what the need would be. So we've worked that one out, I hope, to the satisfaction of most of us. A plan like this is, of course, a big compromise. We're not going to satisfy everybody on every single point, but we've done our best with this. And I should pay tribute. I mean, this is evidence-based in any case. So there was a lot of research went into it. That's why the workload was so heavy for so long. And I pay tribute not only to our splendid policy officers here, but also to the councillors who took this on, because it required a lot of reading, a lot of commitment, a lot of your time and effort. So thank you to all of you who got involved in it. Moving on up to date, I mean, the document is a model of clarity, really. I think it tells you everything you pretty much need to know. What we're doing here, we're looking at only one aspect of the development plan, really, or two aspects, and that's the normal course of action when we're looking at the plan, sending it out to consultation. So in this case, it's the main modifications. These modifications were required by a government inspector. It's not something we have a choice about necessarily. There has been some tough bargaining going on behind the scenes, I know that much, on some issues. But actually, this has been agreed, formally with the government inspector as well. And as you said, Mr. Mayor, it's been thoroughly discussed by the policy, by PED, right. You've got handy lists all through this. Section 2.8 lists the main modifications. If you want the housing figures, they're there as well. They've been adjusted so that they run from the present 2025 up to 2041. So that's why the figure's a bit lower than you might expect. There are some policy alterations and some new government policies to be considered. There's new government policy on the green belt. You've got a list of the strategic allocations as well. And there will be further research on some of those before a decision is reached. We know that we're not necessarily going to be able to deliver Throckmorton, a new town there. But most of the others seem to work okay. Worcester Parkway is coming along nicely. South Worcestershire urban development is already in train. The developers are working hard on that, getting going. I think we can expect more housing very soon, and especially it'll be welcome to get more social and affordable housing. It's greatly needed when we've got a housing waiting list of more than 4,000. So that's really welcome. Mitton, you may not know what Mitton is. Mitton is a place near Tewkesbury, and it has a number of, it has a protected species on it. The curlews are protected. and it's part of the Cotswold National Landscape and is functionally linked to the river estuary. So quite a lot of extra work had to be done on that. That again was required by the government inspector. Rushwick's pretty close to home, and I think you all know where that is. The hopes for a new railway station there, which will support development in that area. Other than that, I don't think there's really very much to say about this, except I hope very much that you'll think we've done a decent job of work on it, all of us, and that you will support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do we have any other speakers? I have Councillor Udall and Councillor Amos.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to pay personal credit to those members of the council and our officers who've worked so hard, almost sweated blood to get us to this stage in the process, which has taken it seems to be forever to get there. I do have some concerns, as you would expect. There's been a lot of modifications, but I don't believe, in my opinion, there's been enough modifications. And I think the public may wish to reflect on what's missing and what could be changed in the consultation process. Councillor Agar has mentioned the railway station at Rushwick. We've already been told that that's not likely to happen because Network Rail are unsympathetic. And the actual preferred site would be on the Mecca site in St John's, not at Rushwick, which would actually serve more people. And so that's something which is clearly missing from the modifications. Also, there's a lack of funding for the Worcester Northern Orbital route, which would take traffic out of the city. Developers should be helping to support that. There's no comment in here about funding for a new high school for Worcester, which should be funded through development and is clearly missing. There's clearly lack of comment about further railway provision within the county, and I'm deeply dissatisfied that we're still at only 40% for social housing. I think it's actually affordable housing, which is very different to social housing. There should be at least minimum 40% social housing, if not more, to actually satisfy the needs and demands of Worcester people. But that is not for us to discuss today. It is for us to actually invite the people who will respond to the consultation to make those comments. And I hope if and when they do, we'll come back and make some comments as well and reflect on those considerations at the end of the consultation process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Amos.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, we are ostensibly here tonight to wave through a 6-week consultation process on the main modification schedule, which theoretically is allowing the examination of the plan to continue to the next stage and eventually adopting the review of the SWDP, the process that started 2.5 years ago when a draft was submitted, but the work for which started many years before. And as Councillor Agar said, we're now talking about 7 years in the making. So I suspect most of it's already out of date. But this council, I think, Mr. Mayor, should be concerned by this whole review process and the process that accompanies it, because it is a bureaucratic jungle designed, as far as I can see, simply to carry out the diktats of central government of both legacy parties, in essence, telling us how many extra houses we must provide, and continuing their relentless policy to take control of local planning decisions away from elected councillors and the local people they represent, laughably claiming to be enhancing local democracy and devolving power away from the centre. I am concerned, Mr. Mayor, by the statements throughout the papers that make it clear that local planning authorities are no more than the agents of central government, in this case, in delivering 22,000 more dwellings, equivalent to an estimate of about another extra 80,000 people. That's confirmed in paragraph 2.4 on page 4, and also repeated in paragraph 2.15 on page 6. And of course, in so doing, it adds the inevitable word. It's really inevitable, isn't it? It adds in the word sustainable. But of course, none of this development is sustainable in any meaningful sense at all. And it doesn't matter how often you use the word sustainable, it's not going to change the fact that overdevelopment is overdevelopment. Once you've used the world's resources, they're used, they're gone. So can I, in case I've missed it, Mr. Mayor, can I ask the chair of PED committee this evening, if the questions are too onerous, then I'm happy to accept a written answer. But some questions, and really the answers would be helpful, because I can't see in any of these documents, and the documents run to over 1,100 pages, and I may have missed them, therefore, but where is it stated, and on what basis, have any commitments been given to provide the necessary infrastructure to accommodate this massive population growth that we are discussing in the SWDP this evening? For example, I'll be as specific as I can. How many new GP surgeries are there to be and where? How much extra capacity is being provided at the hospital, which told us in a recent report to our own planning committee, Mayor, that it is now operating beyond capacity and cannot cope with any more demand? How many extra school places are being provided and where? How much extra road capacity is being provided to rescue a highway system already on the verge of gridlock? Or are they relying on the fantasy of everybody cycling to work, to school, to hospital, to the doctors, and to do the shopping? How much extra rail capacity is being provided? How many extra bus routes are being provided? And so, Mayor, the list goes on, and I do hope we can get some answers, because I can't find any. In short, this SWDP plan will permanently change and destroy the quality of life of many local communities without any local meaningful input from councillors or residents. The report talks about the need for a new plan in order to prevent speculative development. But nowadays, I'm not sure what the real difference is, given that the planning process is now so geared solely to delivering more houses, while the infrastructure is no longer able to cope. In paragraph 2.3, the report confirms, quote, "There is no opportunity for the council to unilaterally amend the modifications." But in truth, Mayor, it no longer matters, does it? It no longer matters. Those of us on the planning committee know that it is virtually impossible now to change any or introduce any new planning policy. So while we sit back and watch community engagement from Worcester councillors and residents being systematically reduced and removed altogether, because central government knows best, doesn't it? It knows what is best for Worcester, so they're going to impose their policy and we're going to go along with it. What a shame.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Amos. Clearly there's a lot there. I'm looking to officers, whether they want to respond or whether a more... Okay. Sorry, Councillor Hayes. Clearly you've asked a lot of questions there, so I think it's only fair for officers to be given the time to respond to that for what you've asked, if that's okay.
Well, thank you. I was going to welcome this plan, but I think I must answer some of that absolute rubbish that's just been spoken across the chamber. And all I would say to you is, first of all, read the report, and I dare you to go into it, and you will see very clearly how the plan refers to the establishment of appropriate infrastructure, both physical transport and social infrastructure, such as health. It's referred to, and that's what the plan is all about. We need this amount of growth in South Worcestershire to meet the demands that the place is creating of itself and its place in the country. And to do that in an organised way is exactly what that plan is about. It specifies where the growth should be, and it specifies how that development will go along with the provision of infrastructure. And without a plan like this, you will get uncoordinated development. Much harder to do. You will have to consider each case on its merits. With a plan which has now very successfully been approved or going through the approval process from the Her Majesty's Inspectorate and now going through its adoption process through the local authorities, there is certainty being created about the applications which will be made on the many development sites that have been created. And while it's not in our boundary, it's very close to us, the new town around Parkway Station, now called, I believe, Wychhaven Town, is exactly a good example of organised development where infrastructure will be provided to meet the needs of those new residents, to provide the jobs, to provide the education, and to provide the health services. And that's a new development which is about, when it's finished, will be about another third the size of the existing Worcester City. And it's really important to make sure that that's properly done. And that's what you can read if you go to the plan. I'd also say it would be a challenge for you to be specific about the questions you're making, because you can't answer, oh, very good, well, I'm sure the officers will look forward to receiving that. What I wanted to do was welcome the new specific policy 65, which is about the land at Navigation Road, the Diglis Water Estate to the south of the city centre, where the Canal Rivers Trust land is reached the end of its industrial life, and there's a set of plans coming forward specifically to see the redevelopment of that area with up to 500 houses and retained employment, and very importantly, a great support to the important Riverside Park and the amenities and the environment of the Riverside. So welcome that specific proposal, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stephen.
Has it come on? I know that at the beginning of the meeting, that the Mayor and the Seconder said that this has all been discussed before, but not everybody, I guess, is going to hang on every word of the PED meeting, and I think it's quite important that some things do get aired in public debate. So I've got 3 questions I'd like to ask, and hopefully we'll get some response from officers on this. The first one is I'm looking for some reassurance on policy over things like living over the shop. From a regeneration point of view, in the city centre, we do need to see people living in city centre, so seeing some support for that would be very, very helpful. I'm sure it's probably in the report, but if you could highlight where that is, that would be good. My second question is, I know that Councillor Pingree raised some important topics about affordable housing and PED, but I think another issue that is also very important is the need for affordable industrial space as well. You know, what we must be really guarding against is gentrification of industrial sites. So we are tending to lose places, sort of the under the arches type of cheaper places where people can start their businesses or have lower, you know, perhaps less profitable businesses that allow people some employment in the city centre. So I think it's really important that those sorts of things are really safeguarded in the future plan. And the third thing that I'd like to seek some reassurance about is the amount of renewable energy that's going to be built on sites. We see a lot of news from the government about changing all sorts of rules and regulations in their dash for getting more and more houses. But what I think we must really, really guard against is just building houses that are not of the highest standards. We really do need to see every home in this country, every new home, having solar panels on. And I think in the policy, I think it's on the page 98 on the PDF, it says 20% of the energy demand or energy usage should be coming from renewables, and that has a very heavy caveat there, unless it's not financially viable. Well, if we're living in a world where you can build a new lot of houses and you don't get at least 20%, and it's being mandatory, that is a crazy situation to be in. So I'd like some reassurance on that as well. Thank you.
Again, I'm looking to officers. Yeah, you'd like to come back on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor Stephen for those questions. So I'll try and answer those in the same order that you asked them. I think as far as living over the shop is concerned, the government has already introduced a class of permitted development rights, Class MA, that positively supports the use of upper floors, but the SWDP review also includes a particular policy reference to, and this is SWDPR New 13, and that's Roman numeral 2, requiring proposals for new retail, leisure and town centre uses to make full use of the building by providing a separate entrance to facilitate the use of upper floors. So clearly that's a very positive and proactive approach. It does rely on the owners of those buildings coming forward with proposals in the case of the council considering applications and the granting of planning permission, but it's worth bearing in mind that those permitted development rights do apply as well. As far as accommodating and supporting start-up businesses and businesses looking for premises that are at lower rental values, there are allocations within the SWDP review for employment land, and as part of the development, or I should say including redevelopment proposals, and Councillor Scott mentioned earlier the retention of employment land at Navigation Road, Diglis, we can negotiate a mix of unit sizes to meet the needs of start-up businesses in particular. In the case of the redevelopment of larger areas of the city, for example, Shrub Hill, that development has started. However, that allocation is expected to be redeveloped over the plan period to 2041 and possibly beyond, which does give time for existing businesses to plan their future, and some may, of course, opt to stay in this part of the city if they're able to. Alongside those considerations, the development management or the planning application process also means that development proposals, employment proposals for windfalls as opposed to allocations may come forward, and similarly the council can negotiate a mix of employment unit types and sizes. Last but not least, you asked about the percentage of energy from renewable sources. The policy, and that's SWDPR New 37, refers to predicted energy requirements, and the policy is seeking 20% for new developments of over 100 square metres gross or one or more dwellings. The policy wording does include where unless unfeasible or unviable. For those of you that were following the examination hearings held last year in this very building, you would have heard the inspectors asking us on numerous occasions how the plan was positively prepared and is sufficiently flexible. That means that that type of wording, whether something is unfeasible or unviable, in certain circumstances needs to be included in the policy wording. However, the assurance that I can provide you and other members here this evening with is that from that technical perspective, when we're asked to consider whether something is unfeasible or unviable, if necessary, we will seek expertise externally to verify that, and won't just take at face value a developer telling us that it's unfeasible or unviable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pingree.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a second to thank all the officers and everyone who's worked on this document, which is incredibly detailed, and I have very much enjoyed reading it. And I also want to thank officers for all of the time they put in at the last Place and Economic Development Committee to answer all of the questions that I had on sustainable building and things like active transport, I think was in there, and the affordable housing and the need for a new high school. These are all really important things to me, and I just want to take a second to thank you all. That's all.
Councillor Jagger.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share the Liberal Democrat position. We all agree that creating new homes and employment opportunities will require updates in infrastructure and resource allocation. And this has been, I'd like to confirm publicly, this has been part of many of the discussions that have taken place behind closed doors. But we want to emphasize that nothing can be accomplished without collaboration between various partner agencies. And this plan may not be perfect, but it is a starting point. With the current legal framework and setup, there are no alternative. The alternative of this plan will be no coordination at all, which is not what anybody wants. And this is why the Liberal Democrats are supporting this step, because it allows councils and partner agencies to work together now rather than delaying decision that would only create uncertainty and extra cost later. Getting the plan into a sound position is about collaboration, shared evidence, and joined up working across South Worcestershire. It also sends a clear signal to any future unitary authority that we expect stronger partnership working and better use of shared resources and long-term savings. And for that reason, we will be supporting this plan.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kimberley.
Has it worked? It has worked. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few minutes ago, I was listening with some amazement. I thought I might have heard the voice of a county councillor sitting opposite, someone who serves as a cabinet member, in fact, for business and skills, which gives me pause for thought, as one would imagine those skills would extend to knowing one's own business. I, for one, deplore populist scare tactics. The purpose of a council meeting is not to gather in the next Worcester News headline, or to wind up residents in areas like Lower Wick and Pitmaston, or to persuade them simultaneously that they should be upset and afraid about homelessness, while also opposing the construction of any new housing developments, perhaps telling them that these will be filled up with asylum seekers, single mothers and yobbos on bicycles. For my part, and seagulls. For my part, I welcome this plan. The number one cause of all the casework that I have seen in Warndon generally stems back to the same cause over and over again, a lack of decent, affordable housing. The new SWDP sets out ambitious targets for building new housing, including new affordable housing, which will be the most powerful salve available to us to address the pressing need of our residents. If we're serious about tackling homelessness, if we're serious about tackling antisocial behaviour, if we're serious about tackling the crisis in social care, we need housing. This week, let's not leave any of our residents out in the cold. Let's support this plan moving forwards, deliver for our residents in Worcester, and reject the divisive, inflammatory nonsense of the far right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lewin.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as Chair of Planning, having the policy documents in place is so important. And so, you know, I want to thank officers for their work. I think people probably don't understand the problem with being on planning committee with decisions when you don't have good policy in place. And if we, you know, the modifications tonight, a lot of them are looking at getting rid of duplication, getting rid of contradiction, getting rid of things that would be misinterpreted or misunderstood, which makes the policy a lot clearer for everyone making a decision, which I welcome. So really, you know, I look forward to this going out. I think it's really important. I look forward to it being adopted because I think, you know, people sitting on planning committee have a very hard job making decisions within the constraints of the planning law. There's a lot going on, and when it's more fixed, it's going to be a lot more helpful to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other speakers, so I think we'll move to the vote on the two recommendations as set out in the report. So all those in favour? Okay. All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. So the report is approved. Thank you very much. So we now move on to item 5, which is the referral report from the Place and Economic Development Committee from the 17th of December 2025, South Worcestershire Local Development Scheme 2025 to 27, and the recommendation is that the Council adopt the South Worcestershire Local Development Scheme for 2025-2027. And again, I think this is being proposed by Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I will keep this brief. The item for us is the updated local development scheme. I'm pleased this report was unanimously approved by the Place and Economic Development Committee. To put it simply, this document is our strategic roadmap. It sets out the official timetable for the production of our minerals and waste local plans through to 2027. While this may seem like a procedural formality, it's a vital statutory requirement. An out-of-date LDS provides transparency. An up-to-date LDS provides transparency and certainty for our residents and businesses, while clearly outlining when they can engage in the planning process. It ensures we have a clear pathway forward for managing the resources we need to build our city and the systems required to manage our waste sustainably within a circular economy. I'd like to thank officers for their diligent work preparing this update. Their technical expertise ensures that our planning framework remains robust, compliant, and most importantly on track. By adopting this update, we are fulfilling our legal duties and ensuring that Worcester continues to plan for its long-term resource needs in a responsible and organised manner. I move that we adopt this South Worcestershire Local Development Scheme. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, seconded by Councillor Agar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've already heard that this is a legal requirement, so this is something that we need to do. What this is essentially a published schedule showing the process and priorities associated with the development plan, and it functions as a project management tool. As such, it's a live document, so it's amended and updated as the work moves forward. I think this is a model of clarity actually, because you've got lots of useful tables and lists of stuff, you know, that will help you understand it. There's a list of useful contacts to ask questions. The stages of plan preparation are listed. Table 3 gives you a tabulated overview with a list of milestones, which is handily colour-coded, so you can see at a glance exactly where we are in the process. So, you know, and CIL, that is the Community Infrastructure Levy, is also fully explained. And there's a lovely diagram as well of how it all hangs together. So I hope that's been clear to everybody. It's certainly helped me anyway, and I've been doing this for a long time. So with that said, I'd like to recommend to you that we accept the recommendations here and vote in favour.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers? I don't see any indications. No? Okay, and in that case, we will move to the vote on the recommendation. All those in favour? Looks unanimous. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, so that is, the recommendation is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And there are no other items of business, so I declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.